Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our latest episode of Ada Angels. I have the Bloom team here with me. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you
So
for having me.
I'm super excited. Thank you for joining me so early your time.
No
um,
problem.
I have only been in the space since July. You guys have been much longer, so I don't really know your guys' origin story. So tell me how you guys came to be partners and how your pool formed.
Well, I was in the news in July that Pledge was going to have kind of a big factor. So during the ITN, there wasn't really a Pledge factor. You could, because I had like, I want to say 60K ADA Pledge to my pool during the ITN. And then they released ANOT and they talked about ANOT having a 30% advantage for Pledge. So I just thought because with only 60K, I was going to be the little guy. I was looking for partners, and Anthony and I had talked before kind of about being partners on this, because it's hard to manage all this stuff like we're going to talk about later. And it was nice to find somebody that had kind of the same goals. The only really thing that was kind of in the way is that we have a great distance between us. And I actually did go down to Florida and meet him prior to the formation of the business and stuff. But yeah, we kind of just met really from my YouTube videos. He reached out to me on Discord and we started talking every day. And then we kind of just really, we started talking about starting our own stake pools individually. And we kind of together just realized that we had the same goals and the same kind of intentions in mind, and it kind of all just worked out in that way.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Right. Yeah, it was the whole process was pretty organic. I mean, I wanted to open a stake pool. I had an opportunity back in the day. I tried to open up a Bitcoin mining farm.
Okay.
And so through that process, I learned, building pitch decks and seeking investors and building websites, and so I got to practice this process over the course of 6 or 7 years from my first Bitcoin mining farm pitch deck that I had made all the way up until now. So when it was time to open up the stake pool, I come from a different background. It's not building stake pools. So naturally just searching how to build a stake pool, Peyton kept coming up. And so like he had said, I joined the Discord and we just started chatting and learning how to build a stake pool. It seemed like that window of opportunity was closing because the mainnet, Shelly mainnet, was about to launch. And so I was like, that's when I brought up to Peyton. I said, we have different skill sets that'll contribute to, I think, a good performing stake pool. Would you be interested in partnering up? And after some careful thought, we decided that it would probably be beneficial that we joined together, and we thought together we could make a better stake pool than separately. So, and so far it's proven to be true.
That's really awesome. Like I kind of wish that I had a partner who would help share the load and like
Yeah.
have someone to kind of like help with the offset of skills, so because I definitely had to learn everything from zero. I'm not a computer science person either. So
yeah, well, also ideas too, it gives me a chance to kind of bounce ideas off of them,
exactly.
because sometimes you're not sure of really the next step you're going to take. So you kind of have that back and forth. And really the good ideas are always in the middle, so.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, it's really true. Like I have my husband and another really good friend of mine, and just kind of have like this circle of ideas because I'm always like thinking like, what about this and what about this, and it helps me learn too, going through that. So, but yeah, so Anthony, you're in Florida. Peyton, where are you?
In Ohio.
Ohio. Are you? But you're not from there, right? Because I saw in one of your videos that you moved there. So where are you from before that?
So I actually am from Ohio, but I was
Okay.
kind of from like a small town in Ohio. But I moved to the biggest city in Ohio, presumably the biggest city. It's the capital. It might be kind of like similar to maybe Cincy or Cleveland. But.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just moved to the city. Yeah, I've always wanted to live in a city my whole life, and now that I'm here, I think I might later in life kind of move to somewhere like maybe 20, 30 minutes away from the city
Mhm.
with some land, you know. I've had my city time already and I've only been here 7 months.
So how is it different? How do you feel it's different than suburbs?
Um, it's a lot more expensive for
Okay.
sure. The best thing about it is the local businesses, right? So in Ohio, when you go to these small towns that are kind of spread all across Ohio, it's the same businesses over and over again. You get the chains, you get McDonald's, Wendy's, Walmart, CVS, just over and over and over again. And to me, it kind of just makes my life meh. You know, you're just
Mhm.
always spending your money with these corporations instead of giving it to kind of the local businesses and kind of the local families in the area. So being able to come to Columbus, you know, we just have a lot of nice, just random little family shops around. You know, you can go to like a Japanese bakery or you can go to a local coffee shop or like kind of a local restaurant versus you're either eating at home or you're going to Walmart or you know what I mean? So
Mhm,
it's a lot
mhm,
better living here. That's kind of why I would like to live close to one, you know.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. Like I used to live in Seoul. Seoul is the capital of Korea, and um, there's just it's just skyscrapers like as far as you can see because that's how we live. We live vertically, you know. Um,
Hmm.
so it's just even now, like I'm in a suburb of Seoul. It's about an hour and a half south because that's where the army base moved to. We used to be centralized in Seoul, but then the government wanted the army away from the center, and they wanted to turn the center into like more of like a historic park, but the army base was in the right in the middle of Seoul. So they said, you know, we want you to move, and so they've been building this new base for like 20 years. But now it's opened, and we're here. And it's just nothing but farmlands. I'm so depressed. It's just like rice fields as far as you can see. But I did find my little corner, my little suburb city, and I'm living in a skyscraper again. So um,
It's weird that it's a suburb of Seoul,
mhm,
even though it's an hour and a half away. You
yeah.
know, where I live in Columbus, my small town is about an hour and probably 10 minutes away
Mm,
from this city, you know, but the
mhm.
city's probably only like 15 minutes wide, you know. It's
Korea
pretty
is
interesting.
it is very interesting because it's like it's not very big. You can drive from the entire distance. I mean, barring traffic, 6 hours, the entire country. You know,
Hmm.
so if you take that and like scale it, it's still considered like suburb because you drive an hour. People commute that long, you know, to go into Seoul because they don't want to live there because it's expensive. You know, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I live in this little area that is kind of like the little city area of our country, little rice field area. So I'm on the 20th floor in my
Oh,
complex, and I it makes me feel like I'm in Seoul.
uh-uh.
The
So
20th floor.
No.
of 30,
How do
the
you look
30.
out the window?
How do you look out
Mm-mm.
the window?
Yeah, no.
With my
I would
eyes. You
fall
look
on the
out the
floor. I
window.
couldn't even look out the window. That's too high up for me.
No, I love it.
Yeah, heights don't really bother me. They never have. I kind of like heights. I like sitting off edges. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
mind heights
living
if you
in
like
them,
that.
oh,
Yeah. See,
No,
living in them kind of sketches me out because you have to carry the groceries up all the time, you know, and I'd
we
yeah.
have
have
a
like 10
wagon.
groceries in
We have
an
like a
elevator.
little no, we have a pulley wagon where you just like put all the things in the wagon, you pull it up. And so like
It's better
load
than
them up.
carrying them.
Yeah, I don't want to carry it. So
How do you go outside? Where do you go onto it? Up, you have a balcony?
what do you mean outside? Like
Like
what do you mean
outside?
go outside? What is
Yeah, what's
outside?
that?
No, we have what we call kind of like verandas, but they're enclosed balconies. So there's a glass door, and then there's glass windows outside. So there's probably, I don't know, it's probably like I'm looking at it now. Let me see. It's like 9 feet by 5 feet, like this little balcony area. I put my plants out there. I grow my plants and stuff out there, and hang. You can hang laundry, you know. So
Mhm.
it's an enclosed balcony. But the biggest drawback,
That
I
would be
think,
pretty awesome. Just have a big enclosed balcony,
Mhm,
floor 20. I'd
mhm,
like that.
yeah. I mean, like, I don't have the best view. My friend has the better view because you can just like see out and it's like nothing except just flat land. So the sunsets are kind of awesome. Mine is like looking at my other apartment building neighbors.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
but anyway, like it's fine. Like I'm fine with it. And I like being in this little area because it's more central to activities. And so my kids can go to piano lessons right around the block, and the cafes and stuff are kind of walking distance, whereas where we lived before was everything you had to drive to. That's, I mean, it might sound strange to explain that to you guys like that, but when we were in Seoul, we didn't have to drive. We just walked everywhere. So you just
Mhm.
like took the metro or took the bus, and you can go wherever you wanted.
Yeah,
The
that's
beauty
kind
of
of
the
one of
city.
that's kind of the perks of Columbus too.
Yeah. But when I lived in my other place, when we first moved down here, it was a huge place, almost like a house. It was all like one floor. It was humongous, but you couldn't go anywhere. You had to drive to anywhere that you wanted to go to. And I was so not used to that. I hated it. So I moved over to this area, and it makes me feel better. So, but yeah.
When
So
did you move there?
about a year ago, I moved to this
Nice.
area, and then I was in the previous one for a year. So I've been in the country suburb for 2 years now. So,
Yeah, see, my view's not too good either. I mean, one side's not bad. It's like nice little like kind of college neighborhood, and
mhm.
then I look out the other side. I call it the bum corner. You have a Sunoco, a Goodwill, and a Rallies on the same corner, and it just congregate. So those are three businesses that just attract kind of the lowest rung of society, and it
Mhm.
just congregates all of these bums on this corner. And it's
Aw.
it's really funny because like you look on both sides, it's like a really nice place, really nice neighborhood, but
Mhm.
just this one corner, like you walk through it, just a bad area, and then you
Yeah.
pass it, everything's fine. You pass it on the other side, everything's fine.
Mm. Have you guys ever been
That's
to
that's
Hawaii?
my that's my backside view. I haven't.
Okay. So Hawaii is really funny because it's really, it has a lot of homeless in Waikiki especially, and so you have this like nice beach, you have all these like businesses, storefronts, and then there's just these homeless people dumpster diving or getting in the trash can. And my father used to have a condo there in Waikiki, and we would just walk the strip there, and we would go to McDonald's, and McDonald's is their favorite place to hang out. It's like central on the beachfront, and people would throw away so much food, like tourists and things just throw away the just their hamburger sets or whatever. But Hawaii McDonald's always gives you a cup of pineapple with every purchase, every hamburger set that you have, and they never would eat them. They're sealed on top, and then they would just throw them in the trash. And so the homeless people just go, that trash can is like the trash can to hang out at, so it's like kind of sad, but it's like I would give them money and things. I don't know. It just makes me sad. But yeah.
Yeah.
What else? What else? Oh, I was gonna ask you guys, how did you how/when did you guys first get into crypto?
So my first time actually Minecraft servers for people. I love Minecraft. I was a gamer.
Mm,
I would go to school all day, and then I would stay up till 1 in the morning gaming every night, just building servers and kind of customizing them, doing plugins and stuff. And someone joined my server, and there's this donation structure set up to where the way you funded the server was donations, and you kind of had like you could see how much it costs to run the server every month. So one guy joined and said, "Hey man, can I pay you in Bitcoin to donate to the server?" And I had no idea what it was, and he's like, "It's a decentralized peer-to-peer currency." And me, very young, was like, "Sure, man." Just he's like, "All right, download this wallet, set it up." So I downloaded the wallet, set it up. Denver wrote down the code. He sent the Bitcoin over. I gave him the donation like rank or whatever, and then obviously lost it. Never heard about it again. I think until like 2016, and then I finally bought some at 2016. Got a little Bitcoin with my $8 an hour job,
mm,
and just started throwing in kind of like $50 here and there. I'd work for 2 weeks and I could barely scrounge up $50, and I would toss it in.
mm,
And then 2017, I had this random guy text me. I wasn't like deep into it. I liked the idea. I
mm,
saw the kind of the issues with the current structure, but I wasn't kind of like deep into it until 2017. I had a buddy message me and said, "Have you heard about ADA?" And it was at that time, ADA was 9 cents. It was before the big bull run.
mhm,
And I was like, man, And this just shows you how little knowledge I had back then. I was like, man, I like that I can get more tokens with the same amount of money versus Bitcoin. So then I just like threw a little over there, and then I started actually researching, and I watched the whiteboard video, and I was like, oh wow, I really like kind of we're starting with the research, and then kind of institutions will look at that research. I kind of like that everything's being verified, so I really just dove into it then. I bought all that at 9 cents and then kind of sold it at $1.10 and then bought the whole way back down. Ethereum. I don't really pay attention to Bitcoin, even though I should. I've been trying to learn more about them lately, but it's really, I've had a little bit of Bitcoin. I skipped Ethereum and went straight to Cardano. It's kind of a weird way to go.
I mean, like, it's no less weird than me. I feel like my my husband and my friend were like, hey, do you know this Cardano? And I'm like, no, like, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's a cryptocurrency. And I'm like, oh, okay, so now I'm learning about cryptocurrency. Okay, and hey, yeah, you should start a stake pool. What? So it's like, that's pretty much kind of like what happened with me. It's like, why do I have to do it? You do it, and they're like, no, you can do it. You're a smart girl, you can do it. And I'm like, so many late nights of me struggling to start this stake pool. But
yeah. See, I had late nights too, but like I can honestly say back in 2018, because I knew stake pools was going to be kind of the way of mining, and I always felt that I was too late to get into mining, right? It was too expensive. Someone of my age didn't have the capital to get into it. And what I did is I actually did have GPUs. I did mine just random cryptocurrencies and then moved all the money into ADA. And my whole goal was to mine as much as I could for then when the time comes, I could finally build my own stake pool, because I'm not limited by cash. I'm only limited by my reach, right? So back in 2018, I was kind of devising this stake pool because I thought it was going to be out in 2019, right? I mean, I had videos in March of 2019 saying my stake pool that's going to be out in a couple months. Here's the parameters. Here's what it's going to be. And in that video, I even said, I believe that the network is going to trend towards zero. So what my stake pool is going to be a 0% pool, and we're going to be entirely funded by YouTube donations.
Oh, wow.
And I quickly realized that no one donates money to YouTubers, so I had to change the fee structure.
So I'll ask each of you, Anthony, where do you think the price is going to go? Kind of like price is doing kind of crazy things right now.
I don't even know. I'm so trained now just to hold or hodl. I don't even check the price anymore. It's like, Nicole, my wife, will occasionally just be like, did you see Bitcoin or ADA? And I know it's up from social media but I'm too busy to worry about the price. I'm not a day trader. I hold for the long term. So I think ADA is undervalued, if that answers your question at all. I don't know what it could be, because the market cap of all crypto, the entire space is not, it's in its infancy right now. So I don't know. I mean, ADA could be something that reaches $5. I've seen, numbers and like that. I've seen crazy numbers all the way to 100. And I think someone posted a video said 130, which, is crazy compared to what it is right now. So I have no idea. I think it is well undervalued. And I think as the release of Goguen and Coinbase and more mass adoption starts to occur, you'll see more people start to flow into Cardano, which will inevitably raise the price. So I don't know. I don't know a final number. It's not really a concern of mine either. I like the project, the ideology about what Cardano's trying to do and the purpose that they're trying to serve. So I'm more about that and seeing success in the project. And inevitably, if you bring value and success to a project, it will go up in value. Its value increases. It has utility. So I just don't know a final price or figure. I couldn't tell you that.
It's
No
totally
idea.
fine. Totally fine.
Yeah.
What about you, Peyton?
So on my end, so one of my things on my channel is I never go over price, but I will here because it's not my channel. Um, I'm kind of in the same boat as Anthony. You know, it's been changing a little bit more recently now that you know, we're running Bloom. You know, we do have to keep price in mind a little bit to just for sustainability. You know, you have to have you have to build a business that can sustain any price point. You know, it's not impossible that we fall down to 3 or 4 cents again, right? So you have to design your business around functioning for a long time on the low end, right? And when we actually released Bloom on that video, I mentioned that and said that we're going to be here at 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, and we're going to be here at $1 no matter what. You know, we're not going to sell too low or too high. You know, we're going to be here for Cardano. So I have been thinking about price a lot more. You know, obviously from right now, there's two places that we can go. We can go up or down. In my opinion, not financial advice to anybody watching. I think we're going to go kind of to the 21, 22 range. And then we're going to see a kind of a big kind of 30-40% drop down to, I would say probably 12 to 15K, you know, and then the future, at least the next year, really counts on how we hold that 12 to 13 level. You know, if we just go right through it, it's not looking too good for the next year. But at the same time, we're still tied to the stock market, and the stock market is looking pretty bullish next year because of all the printing. But yeah, as far as where it can go, I have no idea. You know, it's looking very bright right now, and I'm happy that we're all in the green. But at the same time, 95% of the people that are in the crypto space are actually in the green right now. And that kind of says something about price. You know, if 95% of the people in the green, you're going to have a lot of those people thinking, man, I've been doing this for years. We have not seen a high like this. I can take, you know, 15% profit and pay off all the money I put in, you know, so it's just, we're going to have to see where it goes. What about you? What do you think?
So I am still like super new. I'm not into analytics. I don't really know how to like read the charts yet, but I'm just I've been researching and like following others who do kind of do the things. And so I'm thinking kind of the same as you guys, like to expect an increase maybe to like in the 20 cents ish, you know, and then for it to like pull back down. So I'm not really sure. I am a holder though. Like I'm not a trader. And so it makes me nervous to like, okay, well, when am I supposed to trade? And if I do trade, then what is a good percentage to like target? So it overwhelms me and I quit. So it's like, no.
Yeah, that's a good place to be for sure. You
Mhm.
know, when you start playing the hodl game, but oh, I feel like we're in a bull market right now. I'm going to sell at 22. It's probably going to fall back down to 12. The
Mhm.
consensus is all saying it's going to go back down to 12.
Mhm.
Well, oftentimes Bitcoin inverses the consensus, right? So if you sell at 22, then that's the parabolic phase. It goes up to 66. You know,
Yeah.
so it's a hard game to play, and I think the best method is just to not play it. You know.
Mhm. Mhm. So, Anthony, you mentioned adoption. So I want to ask you guys, like, what does like adoption kind of look like to you guys, whether it be crypto in general or like blockchain adoption? Like, what does it look like?
Me first.
Sure.
It's a good question. Adoption in the crypto space, I think the initial concept behind why Bitcoin was built was to replace or remove or depower the banking system. So adoption on that spectrum would be replacing the banks essentially. And I think that Crypto 3.0 really has a good chance of doing something like that. So with tools like DeFi and tokenized assets, when you're able to simply buy a house over the internet with a smart contract and get a mortgage and approved and everything implemented, all the titling and deed structure and all the paperwork that goes behind it that the bank usually charges an arm and a leg for in the middle of the whole process can be reduced and banks just can't compete at that point because they're too administratively heavy cost wise. So when you have a smart contract that's able to execute the process of 10 different people throughout the home buying process, you're inevitably going to drop the price of that entire uh, situation and process itself. And banks just can't compete with things like that. So I don't think banks will go away. I just think they'll be reduced down and not as powerful as they are now, which is probably a good thing.
Mhm.
So that's where I see adoption going with crypto. It's just an alternative payment method and a way of conducting business within the blockchain.
Okay. How about you?
So what I see is kind of this hybrid model that we're heading into. I'm thinking that kind of prior existing crypto exchanges like Gemini or Coinbase, they're going to start realizing that the best way to bring adoption, and also the best way to bring money to them is kind of have this hybrid bank account crypto holding structure, right? And what you do is incentives drive human behavior. So you provide incentives like these companies already are, like BlockFi, Nexo. You provide 8 to 9% a year on Bitcoin or USDC holdings or Ethereum holdings. And you add these incentives for people to invite other people, right? So you have places like crypto.com offering $50 for me to invite you if you sign in and spend 100, right? So you just need to provide these incentive structures for average users. And over time, it'll start to have this kind of exponential cascading effect of people very interested in kind of the alternative with these hybrid models, right? So, I mean, I think CD or coin.com, I want to say CDC for some reason, but coin.com or crypto.com, that's what it is. Crypto.com already has like 20 million users through their current structure, and their app's beautiful. It's very seamless, but at the same time, them as a company, I wouldn't trust them for a second, right? So I'm just kind of waiting for the next crypto.com to come in and do it right, provide a good sustainable like structure. And also the incentive structure behind that coin is also a decentralized coin that maybe kind of has some DeFi aspects to it as well, but that's kind of what I see it. I see adoption kind of looking like kind of a hybrid model where you have a small percentage of the population, say 10 to 20%, that work solely in cryptocurrency and don't touch the US dollar at all, unless they need to pay certain things, and then slowly that number will kind of grow, 10%, 20%, 30%. And then you'll have kind of this, and this is kind of what I would like is, you have half the population using the dollar and half the population using a decentralized asset or even some centralized assets, and I think the world would be a better place, and it would kind of add a more competitive landscape for the dollar,
Yeah, no, that's great.
I agree, especially with the returns that they can offer, like Gemini in a hybrid bank. They just absolutely destroy. I mean, look at what our pools offer. The ROIs or ROA on our pools. I mean, there's no bank or checking or savings account that touches that.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah. And I had Frederick on my podcast, and that was kind of his old occupation. He was a banker, and
right.
He said the art of banking was lost. There's no competition in banking anymore. You get low interest rates. You're backed by the government, so banks can literally just do whatever they want, not offer anything, and they'll still get business no matter what, So really the best thing that could come from cryptocurrency, on top of everything else, is competition for banks,
Yep.
Yeah. No, competition
Good
drives
point.
drives more innovation and more incentives, so and it's only better for the customers. So but yeah, like the ROA for our pools is another big driving factor for me, because investment for my kids and their school and all that kind of stuff for their future, so it's more than I could have earned in a closed deposit system in a bank, those kind of accounts.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, where should we invest the money? Should we do hold in closed accounts, trust funds, and that kind of stuff? And this was the best return that we were researching, so but yeah, very, very cool. So Peyton, on a couple of your shows, like multiple times, you kind of talk about the upcoming changes in K. So what are your kind of like thoughts, like both of you, like what are your thoughts on what's coming in December and in March, like for for all of us? Who
I
wants to
got
go first?
Anthony's over there teasing. And he's like,
Yeah.
um, so in December, the saturation level is falling from like I think 211 million to 64 or 63.5 million.
Mhm.
So what that means is a lot of people are going to have to move pools. And this is my main point is what this is doing without having a proper ANOT. So in my opinion, the ANOT function does not work as intended. The way it currently works is you have to fully pledge to the pool. So say if it's at 64 million, you pledge the full amount to the pool. So 64 million ADA all to the pool. Not too many people actually have that amount of ADA, and you get higher returns, say 7.3%, 7.13% around there
Mhm.
when you pledge that full amount to the pool versus you have in the lower range someone pledging 10K versus a million, they only get a couple ADA more in returns, right?
Mhm.
So what does that do? That means that there's no incentive to pledge all of your ADA to one pool. So when you don't have incentive to pledge all of your ADA to one pool, the actors, they have two options. They either let their pool saturate, all of the customers within that pool, they start losing rewards, and also that ROS on that pool. So say you're earning 5.5, 6%.
Mhm.
Um, that's going to fall down. If you have a couple bad epochs, you're not getting people to leave. The saturation is not incentive enough to leave. You're going to see your ROS drop into the 4%. And it's really hard to make up for that because on ADA pools and on Pool Tool, you see this lifetime ROS, right? And that's really important. When I'm looking as a delegate for a pool, what I'm going to worry about is lifetime ROS. I'm not going to care about what they've gotten in the last 4 weeks, right? That's just luck. You've had some luck. Good for you. What matters is lifetime ROS, right?
Mhm.
So when you don't have that proper incentive to pledge to all one pool, that means this K increase is not going to do what it's intended. And that means, and so more people are going to create more pools, right? So what the K increase is actually doing is it's kind of causing this redistribution, right? To where you have, I would say probably 80% of the wallets are actually going to have to switch to a pool. And that's either going to be a pool from the same actor or it's
Mhm.
going to be a different pool. Right. And I do think that it's going to help small pools. And I do think that we needed a K increase. I would have just preferred it to be gradually starting even back in August, maybe have the first increase in August, and that shows delegates what saturation is, what it does to the rewards. But you have a small minority of the population that actually delegate have to move, right? You lower it from 211 million down to 190 million. You have, let's say, 5% of the network that actually has to move, while at the same time, you have 50% of the network seeing it at that time. Like, oh, that's what saturation is. I saw it drop, right? I see these IOG pools and I see it drop. So this is starting to make sense to me. I see this gradual increase a couple more times. We could have already been at 300 by now if we would have done 25 increases every 3 or 4 epochs, right?
Sure.
So that's what I would have preferred. And also, if we're doing a large increase, I wouldn't have preferred it to just jump all the way to 500. Like I said, I'm also very pessimistic about price. I just tend to lean on the pessimistic side because I've been here for a few years. I've operated a stake pool at 3 cents. I've operated a stake pool at 2 cents, right? So I tend to lean on the pessimistic side. So I think it's a kind of playing our cards too early. Just to, and it's hard to say that now because we're in the 20,000 range, right? But when they made this decision, we were at 9 cents, right? And 9 cents is where we're at when we said K equals 150. So what I would have liked to seen is a K increase to 300. You would have still had this redistribution,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But the saturation point wouldn't have been so low, and then also at the same time, we're talking about going to 1,000 in March.
Mhm.
And then when you look at what you actually earn per node at K equals 1,000, when I was doing the video at 8, 9, 10 cents, it's really about $6,000 to $7,000 at 3%, and 3% is kind of in the middle range, right? So um, cost wise, the K increase to 500 and then to 1,000 didn't really make much sense to me at this current price.
Mhm.
And that's the thing though, is this is my opinion. And it's important for me to say that I can be wrong, right? I'm not saying that what I'm saying is fact, right? I'm just saying based on the numbers that I've looked at, based on my experience, the K increase all the way to 500 um, is going to be a good thing, but it would have been just as good if we would have done a large increase to 300 without lowering that all the way down to 64.5 million or 63.5 million.
Mhm. Anthony, do you have anything
Right.
to follow up with that?
Yeah. I agree with the gradual increase versus one big jump. I mean, any type of change like that dramatic to any type of system is going to cause a shock of some sort. So that's why we have been preparing in the manner that we have. Because inevitably we know K equals 500 now, or December 6th, and then in a few short months K will equal double that, 1,000. So saturation will drop to 32 million per pool. I think it's great for the system, and we're preparing for K equals 1,000 now. So you catch a lot of grief when you open 4 more pools, you know. So everyone kind of freaks out, but the concept behind that is, and we've considered this carefully, and our business model is not in line with opening 10 pools. We had 2 really strong pools, and that's what we love that about Bloom. But when K increases, all we're trying to do is make room for our existing delegates. It's not a move, an opportunistic move to acquire a bunch more delegates and try to damage pools. The idea is just to simply make room for the existing delegates that enjoy delegating to a specific pool. Logically, that makes sense. Anyone that has over 65 million almost duplicated their pools, because they were like, okay, we're just going to make room for our existing. So do you kick people out that, that have been loyal to you, or do you just make more room for them? You know what I'm saying? So K is out of our control. The only thing we can do is do what's best for our delegates. So every move that we've made so far has been strategically for the best interest of our delegates. And so here we are, we're preparing for K equals 1,000 now. We didn't do what everyone said we were going to do and split pledge. We did quite the opposite, so I think when you look at us, we try to be an example of what a good stake pool is.
Yeah. In terms of margin too, you have a lot of pools operating at 1, 2, even 0%, and
right.
To us, that's not sustainable. And it's because we're looking at the lower side in price, right? Everybody that I talk to that runs a 0%, 1%, and I say, well, this isn't sustainable. They laugh and say, you're selling your ADA, lol, right? You should not run a business at negative in hopes that ADA can be $2 one day, right? You should build a sustainable model now, but that doesn't speak for the people that are just starting out. They haven't been in the stake pool game for 9 months, right? I ran at a loss for 8 or 9 months. I'm just talking about, you can't count on running on a loss until you get a 10 to 20x increase, right? That's just a terrible idea in my opinion. And also, the reason the gradual increase I think would have been better is for data, right? You don't have data on how fast people move to other pools or how long pools are going to be saturated, right? So I have a nice way to talk to my delegates, right? I've been building up this communication channel for 3 or 4 months now, and even before that, right? Whereas you have other stake pool operators that don't have any communication channel, right? So the data that I'm getting now is people don't really move that much, right? I mean, we're doing great, but if you look at other pools that don't have this communication channel, there's no way for them to talk to any of their addresses. So what happens if those pools are saturated for a month and a half? That their lifetime ROS, they've only been open for 3 or 4 months now. Their lifetime ROS is just ruined. So and we don't have any of the tools to actually deal with the K increase. And if you looked back at IOG, they said multiple times that before we do this large increase, we're going to have delegation portfolios. We're going to have multi-delegation wallets. We're just going to have a lot of these tools that we need to actually deal with this. And we don't have these tools. And then when they actually asked Charles about it, he said that it's because they're working on Goguen. And as you know, we're not going to have Goguen until February, and then another rollout in April, but we're getting another K increase in March. So if those same people are working on Goguen in February until April, so how are we going to get those tools before the next K increase in March? In my opinion, it does not seem like we're going to get them. So.
No, I remember all those things that you mentioned, and luckily I do have a pretty tight group, and I'm able to talk to them in my my Telegram group, and direct. I can message them, whoever follows me on the Pool Tool bot thing. But so I'm lucky that I'm able to communicate with mine, but I don't think that everybody is as lucky, So
right. Yeah. You see the importance of that and how that'll cause a problem if you don't have constant contact with your delegates.
Yeah.
you're in big trouble on December 6th.
Mhm.
So you guys both kind of touched on it already about like how you guys are feeling about pool splitting versus creating multiple pools, because I do differentiate between the two. So how do you guys view the ones who are splitting pools and ones who are creating new pools, and the ones who kind of complain about one owner with multiple pools versus just one-to-one, one owner, one pool?
So I've touched on this a little bit before. So the people that kind of voice their opinions on Twitter, I think that's what it is. It's a marketing tactic, right? It's saying you're bad, I'm good. Please delegate to me.
Mhm.
I honestly think that's bad for business, and it's also bad for the community in general, right? You have a lot of my delegates saying like, well, why are people so mean on Twitter? Why
Right.
are people constantly degrading other state pools? And I think this is kind of just growing pains. I think it's a big thing right now, but I think it's going to go away as we see a price increase and as more money are in these people's wallets, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of these guys are running at a loss. A lot of these guys have been told things by OHK that didn't come true, as we were, right? And there's some pain to that too. So and as far as like hating on people that pool split, there's no incentive in the code to de-incentivize pool splitting in the first place. So
Yeah.
for me, if that's what they want to do, then go for it, right? I
Mhm.
mean, there's no reason on Twitter to talk bad about someone, say they're greed, say they're doing this all for money, when you can just pull out a calculator and you can do the math on how much people earn from doing this stuff,
Mhm.
right? And I'm sure a lot of those guys that are pool splitting are not earning a huge profit for the millions of ADA that they're pledging to the network, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't have any ill will towards anyone. And how they operate their business, even 0% pools. I think it's terrible, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to at them on Twitter and tell them that they're ruining the ecosystem and they're doing this just for greed, right? I think it's a terrible idea because it's not sustainable. And all of the customers that you're getting as 0% are just going to leave when you raise the fees,
Mhm.
right? So you're not really building a good model. But at the same time, I'm not going to at you on Twitter and tell you that you're the reason Cardano is going to fail, right? So I don't
Sure.
have any issues with the way anyone's running their business, especially if it's successful, right? If there's some issues with the protocol, then the protocol needs to be changed. We need to get the discussion going. We got to start talking about it, which I'm actually doing a podcast today with Unmed and Sean about just that, right? But Twitter's not going to save Cardano, and don't act like you are with your one tweet.
Okay, so Anthony was telling me, following up on
Oh, yes, pool splitting.
pool splitting. Yes.
Right. So, I believe that pool splitting was a term that was coined for the pools or the bigger pools that were just going to duplicate. Like we can see the origin of that. And so the question is, at what point is your pledge enough? Because I could see if you had 10,000 ADA and you wanted to split pool, but the thing is that like Peyton said, there's no incentivization on having a high pledge. And I understand it's a catch-22 from IOHK's side. They don't want to set the bar for people to get involved with running a stake pool like mining. Mining's very expensive. None of us could afford to become a competitive miner right now. So it's tough. It's tough to say. Like Peyton had said, there's no ill will towards anyone that has to split their pool. If you just don't have enough funds or capital, that shouldn't stop you. If you're a successful pool and people are delegating to you and you just can't put up the funds, then split them. Do what you can. Do what you can for the best interest of your delegates. But since it became a thing and it wasn't, fortunately, it wasn't a problem for Bloom to put up more ADA. We had to work deals out, and luckily we have good investors and great partners. We were able to pull that off and not have to split our pool or split our pledge. So, like we said, we try to set the example of what a good stake pool is. So, if pool splitting's bad, then Bloom doesn't do pool pledge splitting. So, it's that simple. but yeah, I would never judge anyone upon it. Because
And
there's no real good reason to have a big pledge at this point.
yeah,
Right.
and then also it's important to know that that all of this, oh well, pledge doesn't matter. People saying that, then also complaining about pool splitting, complaining about multiple pools.
Mhm.
This is going to lead to in the future when we see a price increase to a large portion of the population not actually being able to run a successful stake pool,
Yeah.
right? I mean, when you're looking at these parameter changes, when you're looking at a not change, when you're looking at Sean's proposal on the curve change, um, you're going to have 500,000 to 5 million ADA to be competitive, right?
Mhm.
So complaining about it's a double-edged sword, right? You're saying, oh, pool splitting's bad. Please delegate to my pool. Um, well, a lot of these people that run pools now are not going to be able to run a pool when we have this A naught change, right? And also changing A naught without looking at Sean's proposal actually lowers rewards for everyone, right? So if we raise A naught to 0.5 or even to 1, we're looking at 3% at one at point, or at 1, we're looking at 3% a year for delegates and operators alike, right? And as I've talked about earlier, 3% to us and 7% to IOG and Binance, right? So A naught has to change, but keep in mind that a lot of people are going to get left out when A naught changes, right? So just saying, oh, pool splitting's bad. Enjoy it while it lasts if you have less than 100,000 ADA, because I really think that they're not doing it because you're complaining on Twitter. They're doing it because they're worried about the security of the network, and there is no security of the network for Sybil attacks right now. You know,
Mhm.
the only security to the network right now is good operators that mint blocks, that pledge, that have good actions in hand. That's it. That's the only security of the network. It's not pledge. It's not
Yeah.
the design function of the network, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I did hear and see a couple of things where they're reassessing what they want to do with the parameters, right? So that's to come later, I guess. And so just keep watching. But yeah, so I can see, I read on Twitter, and I read all the comments that you guys and other people who are spinning up multiple pools are getting some negative feedback from the community. And I'm not one of them. I don't have any, as you guys say, ill will or negative opinion about it, because like like we keep saying, the parameters allow for it, and you guys want to create space for the people who chose you, to delegate to your pools. So that being said, like the mom in me wants to kind of like know why people like bully in the first place, but then like how do you guys deal with the so-called like bullying and tribalism that's kind of like going on in the space?
Well, at first, like kind of like right after stake pools came out and it started happening, um, you kind of saw the first portion of it was on the Cardano effect.
Right.
That was the first ever hate I got, and it was from Marco. And then following that, that kind of started a cascade of hate my way. And to be honest, at first it really hurt my feelings. It, everyone was nice to me for 8 or 9 months. Everyone was patting me on the back saying, thanks, man. We're all building the infrastructure for the next global financial system. We were all buddies and pals, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. And then as soon as stake pools came out, that happened, right? So it did hurt my feelings, but as with everything, you learn to deal with it, you learn to grow. So it doesn't really bother me anymore. What I hate most about it now is kind of the time sink, right? I actually have to take time to read these comments and remove them because I get messages from my delegates asking me what these people are saying, right? Because it's bad for business to have 100 people in this ecosystem. As I said earlier, it's bad for Cardano to constantly be rating your YouTube videos, your email, your Twitter with negative comments towards your business and your person and your character without really any evidence, right? It's not like they post links of me saying this on my YouTube channel or me doing anything. It's literally just a tweet, right? So what I hate about it most now is the fact that I have to go constantly read these and spend my time when I could be working, I could be learning, I could be developing myself, but instead I have to take these time removing these comments from my Twitter and my YouTube, and it sucks, you know. As far as how I deal with it now, if I go to the gym, if I spend some time outside in the sunshine, it doesn't bother me at all. Just random people on the internet, you know. But if I forget to take care of myself, you know, I stop going to the gym. You know, I eat a little bit too much brownies. You know, then my brain will start complaining about meaningless things. You know, and And right now, those meaningless things are people on Twitter. And if it wasn't, it would just be some other meaningless thing. So it's not a big deal, just gonna have to learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. It's a business. It's a competitive one. It's a lucrative industry. Everyone wants to be a part of the crypto community, have their name up, in the blocks, and everyone wants to be a part of that. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just going to happen, especially here. It's a very small knit community.
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm honored at the fact that people get mad at Bloom. I'm honored at the fact that people come out and make fake Bloom pools. That means we have done the best job that we could have done in creating a stake pool. People being mad, yeah, I get it. You're going to invest time and effort, and sometimes it doesn't work out. That's just part of the risk of opening a business, and we did well because we have experience doing stuff like this. This is why we were able to perform the way that we were. Our marketing, our branding, our website, Peyton's YouTube channel, these are all valuable assets to us. Mimic us, do what we do. If you like our style, or you want to be a bigger pool, mimic the big pools. Follow what Rick does. Rick's an amazing pool operator. He's got great marketing. He's always on YouTube. He's well on his way. And I see pools start to grow that are imitating this style. Yours, for example, I see Grow Pool. He's doing well. He's been marketing like crazy. I see a lot of people starting to ramp up and starting to imitate versus just complaining about it. If business isn't going well for you, switch up your strategy. It's not working. Start to mimic what people that are successful in the space are doing, and inevitably you'll do well. But we're only doing well because of our experience doing stuff like this, and we magically came up with this formula that actually worked. No one knew what was going to work or what was going to be successful. That's why it has a lot to do with luck, but a lot of it is skill as well.
Yeah, and you have to think about it like logically, right? How are you going to market a global decentralized business, right? You're not going to do it on a billboard. You know what I mean? You're not going to do it on Twitter, barely, because Twitter is all stake pool operators.
Right.
The only really true place to do it's YouTube. You can't do it on Telegram. Telegram's all stake pool operators. The only place to actually reach delegates is YouTube, in my opinion, right? Or run 0% and get number one on Daedalus, right? There's really only two ways to go. You either operate competitively and lower your fees all the way to zero so you can get a couple delegates on Daedalus, or you put yourself out there and the only place the delegates are, and
hustle.
Yeah. And
talk to 200 people a day.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, is and that's exactly, man. Put the work in. I mean, I talk to so many people every day answering Cardano questions, and they're not just delegates of Bloom, right?
Yeah.
They say, hey man, I've been looking at Bloom. I'm currently in Digi. I just got a couple questions for you, man. And I answer them, sometimes it'll take me a day, but I do answer them. I answer every single question, you know?
Same thing with the email. You email us. I don't care what pool. I don't ask. I don't care what pool you're delegated to. I'm going to do my best to answer your question. That type of service gets your delegates.
No, I do the same thing. Like when people are asking in the general channels, or sometimes they join my channel just to ask me questions, because I say on my Twitter, feel free to ask me any questions. I don't mind,
Right.
And there's a couple of groups on Facebook as well. Like there's a lot of people who have questions that don't know a lot of things. I was actually really surprised. And so I just go in there and answer their questions. I don't care. I mentioned that I have a pool if they're looking for a pool, but I don't say you have to delegate to me or anything. So
yeah, exactly.
I do like answering the questions, because education is key, so
and I see it pay off. I mean, I have people on my Discord that after I answer them a question, they'll answer 3 more people's questions, right? And for people that like think that it's just so I don't know, just the negativity does bother me a little bit. I mean, it really does. And it's just, if you saw all the interaction that I have with people every day, and then also you have to realize that my opinions come from the interaction that I do have with these people. When you have people that message me and say, hey, I'm in Bloom, at 150 mil, is it saturated? When K is at 150,
Mhm.
it makes me a little more pessimistic about a large increase to 500. These interactions that I have with people every day, there's not enough education currently in the community.
Right.
I mean, you have third parties like me, Rick, Kaizen, Philippe, these YouTubers or people on Twitter making
Right.
infographics. We're the ones doing all the education, right? IOG is just now starting to realize that the majority of the education is being done on YouTube. So they hired Dave. David Likes Crypto. He did an awesome job with the saturation video, but they haven't built up that big following, I don't think, to where they release a video, then everybody in the community says it. I mean, if you saw some of the emails I would get every day and your pool was over 64 million, you would be terrified, because a lot of people think that saturation is even happening at like 20 million. I've had people say, well, is 20 million saturation? Like there's just a lack of education. And that needed to be very improved before a large increase, but it's very educating, losing half your rewards.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the secret sauce. If you want delegates, answer questions.
yeah.
I agree. So a little bit happier topic. Let's move to a happier topic. um, so what are some like fun, happy experiences that you've had since being state cooperators?
Really answering people's questions and talking to everyone.
None.
Yeah, none.
It's not fun.
I enjoy the AMAs a lot. I've been doing them every week now. I answer a lot of the same questions, but it seems that people enjoy them. It seems that there's new people coming every week. I also enjoy kind of like the events. We had D equals 0.5. I hopped on a live stream with Rick and we had an event there, or Anthony and I did the first block party, so it's really what I enjoy the most about it is the nice aspects of the community, where we kind of all are happy about the latest event or what's happening or about decentralization or about staking, so I really just enjoy the community aspect. And I'm really excited for Voltaire. It's been delayed, but I've said this a million times. The voting thing was kind of one of the main reasons that I was interested in Cardano, to have this decentralized voting software and then kind of this funding thing where you could fund projects, so I've had a lot of fun, even though it's been delayed. I've had a lot of fun interacting with the Catalyst community. It's in its infancy. It's kind of an experiment right now, but I really do think this could turn into something great. So even though it doesn't really relate to stake pool stuff, just kind of the community and then also the community around Catalyst, I've had a really good time with.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed meeting a lot of the people, other stake pool operators. Just, it's so interesting because you'll have a podcast with 3 or 4 people and they could all be from different countries all around the world. So that's kind of neat about Cardano. It doesn't have there's no limit to it. It's global.
Yeah.
So that's unique to it. I like hearing the stories of some of the delegates, because every delegate, every person that's staked to a pool has a story. You were looking, for example, you said that you were looking for a bank and couldn't find one, and this turned out to be the best return on investment. So you chose to stake your ADA. So everyone has that story, and I like when people share that. That's what I've enjoyed so far about the community. You do have that ugly side because it's growing, and that's just part of the growing pains of it. Families fight. That's just part of it. But the fact of the matter is that it's a very goal driven type community. Like it started with the whiteboard paper and everyone kind of understood what was going on and why, and it kind of grew from there, flourished. So it was bred. The very beginning, its origin point was goal driven. It was purpose driven, mission driven. So I think that's always been in the background of Cardano, and you can sense that when you deal with the community.
Yeah. And then one thing I forgot to say is all that I've learned. I've learned so much about building a business, sustaining a business. Also, I've learned a lot about Linux. I've learned a bit about people. I've learned a little bit about video editing. I've learned a little bit about public speaking. Really the best thing that's come out of this for me so far. And it's like, I don't think this is going to happen, but if everything went to zero, I'm still content with everything that I've learned and happy with this experience, because it's just been such an exponential way for me to learn things, right? Because there's incentive there, and it's also, I'm very, very passionate about it, and I love doing it, right? So yeah, I really couldn't ask for anything more, so I love having that incentive to learn, and without me being passionate about something, the way my mind works, it's very hard for me to learn something without that passion there.
Yeah, no, I really like resonate with that really well, because it's like I was basically dropped in the deep end and said, here, you're going to learn to sink or swim, so I'm like,
Hmm.
no prior knowledge to it, and I survived, so um the other thing, like for me, like what I really connected with this whole the whole thing was a lot of personal experiences I had with my family. Like my dad was victim of like identity theft. We do a lot of like international travel, so there's been instances where we have to use hospital or records from Hawaii with my dad's VA doctors, and records in Korea, like all of that stuff would be so much easier managed if we had the identity management, like that Prism is talking about, or the voting system is also very attractive. And so all these little projects, like you said, is just like, I'm really looking forward to all of these things, and it makes me excited for what's coming. It's not just something I'm putting money into. It's something that's still developing, and it has a lot of potential for the future. But yeah, I just have these experiences in my past, and I'm like, it could be fixed if we had this, So
Right.
yeah. So
Well, we just had a presidential election that could be fixed if we had
yep.
Voltaire. So
Yeah, I know. Just imagine like how less like polarized the country would be if we could all just get on app.voting.com or .gov,
right.
and on app.gov or app.voting.gov, it just showed per state, per county, the exact number of votes just verified on the blockchain instantly comes up. There's no person counting. You can still go in person and vote on the blockchain, or you could sit at home, and as we're going to do with Catalyst, you get on your phone, you scan your QR code, you take a picture of yourself and your driver's license for a little KYC, and you sit there and you look at this little ballot, and oh man, I haven't had enough time to really research the senator. All right, I'll Google this guy, and then you can actually take some time to
Right.
know what you're voting for, instead of going, okay, Trump. Well, I voted Trump, so red, 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 red. Instead of, you know what I mean, and actually making choices in a middle position versus just choosing a side because you don't have time to actually do the research.
Right. So yeah. So more fun questions. What else fun questions do I have? What do you guys like to do for hobbies?
What the hell is that?
Let's see. What hobbies do I have? Oh, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Do you guys play any games like that?
He's the gamer.
Yeah, I play video games.
Video games. Okay.
Lately I've been playing this game. It's called Unrailed. Oh, it's called Unrailed. It's so fun. Me and my girlfriend have been playing it. It's just a little co-op game. It's animated, it's top down, and it's so you have a train track, and as the train track, you have to build the train tracks. And if the train reaches the end of the track, the train blows up. So like what you're doing with two people is just running down, chopping down trees, mining stone, and frantically adding to the track. And you can play on hard, and then over time, the track speed or the train speeds up, right? So then you have to get
Back in the day, that game was called Snake.
Really? I don't know. This is way better than Snake. Way better. I don't know. It's like, and it's not even very complex, right? I mean, it was $15, but I've just had so much fun playing it. I bought it last night. Other than that, I've been playing No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is cool because it's like it hits this little tech exploration aspect that I like in games. It's like all procedurally generated and it's infinite, right? So you can go to different different solar systems, and the whole point of the game is to get to the center of the universe. And you go to different solar systems on the way to the center of the universe. It's completely online, 32 people in a game. You can play co-op with other people, and you'll see people as you're traveling through the solar system, but the solar system's infinite. So half the time you won't even see anybody else, and you'll just see abandoned bases on planets. But each new planet's interesting. Each new planet has procedurally generated wildlife, procedurally generated birds, fish, and they've worked on it. When it came out, it sucked. but they've worked on it for free for like 3 or 4 years now. And it's just like a masterpiece of a game. It's the best procedural generation I've ever seen, hands down. And it's so complex, right? It's not like Minecraft where you have a 256 block height and you kind of have these limits. I'm sure there's those limits there, but the limits seem much more infinite than you would with kind of a block kind of system, you know?
That's a
Very
lot.
cool.
That's cool though.
I'm looking forward to Charles's game. He had mentioned like game magic where you mess with the physics in the game and all of that seems pretty cool. Like a cool
Yeah, Legends of
concept.
Valor.
Yeah, that's I will play that video game.
Yeah.
I'll play it too.
It sounds neat.
Hey man, I like Ada. He's got a good track record. You know, I'll try it out.
It sounds interesting because it sounds like he's building in a lot of like components from Dungeons and Dragons as well. Like when he's talking about it, I know what he's talking about. So, but yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, more fun questions. What do I have? Oh,
Have you ever heard of Divinity? Real quick,
No.
have you ever heard of Divinity 2?
I don't
I've
think.
played Divinity 2, so I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I've played this game called Divinity 2. It's
Mhm.
pretty complicated, but it's essentially Dungeons and Dragons the game,
Okay.
and it's really fun. That's the closest thing I've ever played Dungeons and Dragons. I was playing that, and someone told me, "Dude, this is just like D&D," you know.
That's cool. So, what else? Oh, do you guys have any like unique like talents that you have that you want to share?
I'm good at video games. It's really about it. I mean, during my public education before I got to college, because I actually started paying attention in college and started learning, but during my run-in with the public education system, I did nothing but play video games. I mean, I would literally get home at 3 o'clock and then play video games from 3 until 1 in the morning.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm good at them. It's not like a hidden talent, but really anything else, not really, you know. I don't really do. I mean, yeah, that's it. I do a little jujitsu, but I'm not good at it yet, you know.
I can build a house.
Wow.
That's pretty good. I'm left-handed.
Okay.
That's not a talent.
I don't know. I feel like left-handed people are more talented.
Do you?
Just in my experience, every left-handed person I've met have just been more kind of in tune with like hand-eye coordination and kind of in sports. Like,
Mm, I can see that. My brother's left-handed as well.
Wired differently, like physically.
Right.
So
Mhm.
like I'm more like the bio side. Like my education is in biomedical engineering. So like I'm very strong in like bio and body stuff, right? So there is a lot of stuff that goes on in your brain for left-handed. I mean, it's not a it's not a one-off. If you look at like one left-handed people, they do things differently, you know. So
Right. It's so weird that it's such a small population too. I think there's only like 2% of the world is left-handed. So
see, yeah, I've always been confused because I like certain things with both hands. Like I write with my right hand, but everything else I usually do.
oh
with my
yeah,
left.
when we went shooting, you were shooting with your left side.
I shoot left-handed. I really
Right.
do everything left-handed except for writing. And it's because they forced me in school to write with my right hand instead of my left.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah,
It's an old school thing.
They just hated lefties, I guess. So
left-handed, but just forced to be right trained for things, you know, but you may be more left attuned, you know. So
mhm.
interesting. So but yeah, wow, we've been talking for a long time. I love talking though, guys. Like I love talking to new people and meeting new people. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, do you guys have any questions for me? I know I don't really leave you guys a lot of opportunity to ask me questions.
What are your hidden talents other than what you just stated?
I am I don't know. I don't know if I have talents. I can write pretty well, I guess. I can write, like right now I'm doing a master's class or master's course in nutrition. I'm doing applied nutrition, and I can write what I think, like pretty much like just like write it out, right? So I can think pretty quick and write what I want. Pretty good with money and finances, and planning. Like I'm a good planner, and I see patterns pretty easily. So when I'm thinking about planning for 1 month, 1 year, like whatever the things, there's not very many things that are unique. So there's easy to see patterns, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so there's that, and then of course, like I like Dungeons and Dragons. I've been playing. I've made a second character. We played one character for a year, and we got all the way pretty much to as far as you can take it. And so we've just created a new campaign, new characters, and it's really fun and like
You can play it for a year long.
A campaign can
That's
last
pretty crazy.
a year or longer, and it was once a week meetings with my crew, you know. So
For how long? Like how many hours? Once a
oh
week?
God, it's usually like a day. Like we would play, probably meet at around like 3 or 4 and end when we pass out. So it's like it was a
So
lot.
8 hours times 52. It's a pretty long game.
It's long. It's long.
It's
But,
definitely worth
you know,
it.
like it doesn't feel like that long because you don't really do a lot in your session, you know. So, but it takes a long time to like do the things.
Yeah, that was my experience with it. I these two people were playing at my house. My roommate was playing it,
Mhm.
and I walked by him, and they were just starting. They're like, I was like, "What are you doing?" They're like, I saw them writing in notebooks, and like they had a bunch of stuff out, and they're like, "We're creating the characters." And then I didn't see them for like a week. They came back over. They spent like 4 to 8 hours the first time, just some crazy amount of time. I asked them again. They're like, "Oh, we just finished our characters like
Yeah.
16 hours later." Or
Yep.
just some crazy number like that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my I was like, okay, staying
So,
away from this. I
yeah.
know I'd probably like it, but this is just too much of a time sink. I already have enough time sinks.
Yeah. So I was saying like the character creation is definitely the longest part. From there you have your dungeon master kind of create campaigns and dungeons and scenarios for you to play, and there's a storyline. You can follow an already laid out campaign, or you can totally just have your dungeon master kind of like make one up for you, you know. So um, it's a lot of fun, and it's a good outlet for me to get out of my head, you know. So because it's I just
Mhm.
basically be another person. It's kind of fun. So but yeah. So, but I really like talking to you guys. You guys are awesome people.
Yeah,
So
it was fun.
so yeah. Anything else you guys want to share that we didn't cover? Or more questions for me?
No, it was a good interview. Thank you for having us on.
No, I really appreciate you guys coming. So, but yeah, we will wrap it up here since we've been talking forever and ever. Thank you for watching our show. And I will say, have a good rest of your day, Bloompool.
Thank you.
So, all right, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.
See you.